down and says, yeah, I'll be expecting an Apple Pay from Paige Bueckers. What are you doing? What are you doing, dude? Like, we're going to get to that.
At All-Star Weekend, you and Angel made a bet with each other on this game. Is that bet still?
This is how the rich stay rich.
You gotta save this money. I'm gonna see you next week on Wednesday.
Yeah.
At night?
No, at practice.
Oh, at practice?
I mean, I know y'all gonna lose, but if y'all lose,
I get to have that.
if y'all win, you get 400.
And if we lose, then you get to
No, you owe me 400.
That is the moment that turned a friendly bet into a league problem. Because once the money gets mentioned out loud, on camera, after the game, the joke stops being just a joke.
I mean, this was an idiotic thing from Paige Bueckers and Angel Reese to promote publicly and to continue to double down on the fact that you guys bet on the game, gambling in the game. You see all of this gambling stuff that's going on in the professional sports world. Now, do I think you guys were trying to rig a game or throw a game for a couple?
Nobody is saying Paige Bueckers and Angel Reese were trying to throw a game for a few $100s. That is not the point, and it would be reckless to pretend that is proven from this clip alone. The point is much sharper than that. In a sports world where leagues are already terrified of gambling scandals, prop bets, insider information, suspicious injury reports, and players getting dragged into investigations, why would any professional league allow two of its biggest names to publicly joke about wagering on a WNBA game and then walk away like nothing happened? That is where this story gets uncomfortable, because this was not some random fan making a meme. This involved real players, real money being discussed. A real WNBA game, a post that the league itself apparently helped amplify, and then a quiet deletion once people realized how bad it looked. And the question hanging over all of it is simple. Is the WNBA protecting the integrity of the league, or is it protecting the image of the league?
Take a look at this here, courtesy of Underdog WNBA. This says there will be no punishment for Angel Reese or Paige Bueckers over this incident. Okay, here it says WNBA statement on deleted social posts featuring Angel Reese and Paige Bueckers appearing to make a friendly wager on yesterday's Dream Wings game. While the social media post was intended to be lighthearted, WNBA players are well aware of the league's policies prohibiting betting on WNBA games and receive training every year reinforcing these policies.
That statement is the center of the controversy. According to the league's own wording, as quoted here, players are aware of policies prohibiting betting on WNBA games, and they receive training every year reinforcing those policies. That matters because this is not a case where the public is confused about whether gambling rules exist. The league is basically acknowledging that the rules exist, that players know the rules exist, and that the post missed the mark. But then comes the part that made fans angry. No punishment, no public fine, no public suspension, no visible consequence beyond the league saying the matter was handled internally. And that is exactly why this story has legs. Because when a league says, our players know the rules, and then also says, we are not punishing this, it creates a gap big enough for every critic to walk through. People start asking whether the rule is serious or just decorative. They start asking whether discipline depends on who the player is. They start asking whether the league only reacts when the backlash gets too loud. And later, the most damaging part may not even be what Angel or Paige said. It may be what the WNBA account did before anybody else had time to clean it up.
Here it says, we recognize that the post missed the mark, removed it shortly after it was published, and addressed the matter internally. We will also use this as an opportunity to re-emphasize with the players involved that conversations about wagering on WNBA games, even when intended as a joke, can have negative consequences.
Listen to that phrasing. Conversations about wagering on WNBA games, even when intended as a joke, can have negative consequences. That is the league trying to thread a needle. They want to admit the optics were bad without making it sound like a major gambling scandal. They want to remind players that this is serious without turning two marketable stars into the faces of a discipline case. They want the story to end with, we handled it internally, because that is the cleanest possible exit. But here is the problem. The public does not see handled internally. The public sees the video. The public sees the quote. the public sees the league post it, delete it, and then issue a statement that sounds like a warning without teeth. And in professional sports, optics are not a small thing. The entire business depends on fans believing that what they are watching is real. The final score has to feel honest. The effort has to feel honest. The competition has to feel honest. The second people believe players are too comfortable joking about betting on league games, even casually, the league has a trust problem. Maybe this was innocent, maybe it was just two players having fun, but a league's job is not only to judge intent. A league's job is also to protect perception, because perception is where sports credibility lives.
You should show them the negative consequences, okay? I don't know if you were gonna issue a fine. I don't know if you were gonna do a 1-game suspension. I don't know. Something needed to be done. This sets bad precedent, man. It is what it is. And then the idiotic WNBA. You guys are so stupid that you are the one who posted it. You guys reposted it. And then shortly deleted it shortly after.
This is where the criticism shifts away from the players and lands directly on league leadership. Because the WNBA did not just have to respond to a player-created moment. According to the commentary here, the league itself reposted or published the clip and then deleted it shortly after. That is a much bigger issue than two athletes joking around. That suggests the people running the public-facing machine did not immediately recognize the risk, and that is exactly what makes this feel like a leadership story, not just a player story. A social team sees a fun moment, 2 stars, a little trash talk, a rivalry, a money line that sounds like personality. In the modern sports internet, that kind of clip is engagement fuel. It gets comments, it gets reposts. It makes the league look young, loose, viral, connected to culture. But the league office is not supposed to think like a fan account. A league account has responsibilities. It has lawyers, it has compliance rules, it has player conduct policies, it has gambling education. It has a duty to avoid making the league look casual about something every major sport treats as radioactive. And that is why deleting the post did not end the story. It actually made the story louder, because deletion tells people somebody realized there was a problem. And once that happens, the obvious follow-up is, if it was serious enough to delete, why was it not serious enough for a visible consequence?
Down and says, yeah, I'll be expecting an Apple Pay from Paige Bueckers. What are you doing? What are you doing, dude? Like, we're gonna get to that.
At All-Star Weekend, you and Angel made a bet with each other on this game. Is that bet still?
This is how the rich stay rich.
You gotta save this money. I'm gonna see you next week on Wednesday.
Yeah.
That Apple Pay line is why this did not stay buried inside a statement. Because when Angel Reese says she will be requesting her Apple Pay after the game, fans do not hear a complicated legal analysis. They hear a player publicly connecting a WNBA result to a payment. Again, that does not prove corruption. It does not prove game fixing. It does not prove anything close to that. But it does prove something else. It proves the league has a culture problem around how casually moments like this are being communicated. And that is the part defenders of Angel and Paige are missing when they reduce the backlash to people overreacting. The issue is not whether a $400 friendly wager between two players is the same thing as a criminal betting scheme. It is not. The issue is whether professional athletes should ever create the appearance that they are personally wagering on the outcome of a league game. Because once the clip exists, the league cannot control how it spreads. A casual fan sees it one way, a critic sees it another way, a bettor sees it another way, a sportsbook watcher sees it another way, a league sponsor sees it another way, and a commissioner trying to sell the WNBA as a serious, growing, credible professional product should see it as a warning sign. The warning is not that these two players are criminals. The warning is that the league's instincts were too slow.
Reese had to say in the post-game.
Yeah, I'll be requesting my Apple Pay after this. No, I mean, Paige is a great player. When you, hold her to 16 points.
The WNBA, the gift that keeps on giving. The stories write themselves. The YouTube videos, they make themselves. I don't make the videos make themselves. Look at this stuff. I'll be requesting my Apple Pay right after this.
There it is again, the Apple Pay line, then the basketball praise, then the attempt to move naturally into post-game analysis. And that contrast is what makes the clip so strange. 1 second, the conversation is about money tied to the result. The next second, it is about Paige being a great player, her mid-range, the defensive plan, and the team win. That is exactly how a harmless inside joke can become a public relations fire. Inside the locker room, it may feel like nothing. Inside a friendship, it may feel like trash talk. Inside a press conference, after a WNBA game, with cameras rolling and gambling rules in the background, it becomes something completely different. The professional environment changes the meaning. This is why leagues do not build conduct policies only around intent. They build them around boundaries, because once athletes are allowed to blur those boundaries in public, the next situation becomes harder to control. What happens when a role player jokes about a prop bet? What happens when someone mentions a missed free throw and a cash app? What happens when a fan clips one line out of context and it spreads to millions of people with no explanation attached? The league may believe this specific incident was lighthearted, fine, but the next one might not be so clean. And if the WNBA does not make the line visible now, it will have a harder time enforcing it later.
You're not supposed to be betting, Paige. What are you like? Y'all don't see what's going on in the NBA with Terry Rozier and all these dudes rigging games? Again, not that I believe you two are rigging games, but like, read the room. You're not supposed to be betting on your games, on the games at all, Angel, Paige.
This is the larger sports context, and it is impossible to ignore. The NBA and other leagues have already been dealing with gambling-related controversies, investigations, suspensions, and public trust issues. Fans have become more suspicious. Every strange stat line gets questioned. Every late scratch gets analyzed. Every player prop becomes part of the conversation. That is the world professional sports created when gambling became attached to broadcasts, apps, ads, and fan culture. So when WNBA players joke about a bet on a WNBA game, people are not reacting in a vacuum. They are reacting inside a sports ecosystem that already feels too close to gambling. And that is why the "it was only a joke" defense does not fully work. Because the league is not operating in 2005 anymore. It is operating in a world where viewers can bet from their phones during games, where injury information can move markets, where athletes are constantly reminded about gambling rules, and where leagues are trying to balance sponsor money with competitive integrity. That is the uncomfortable hypocrisy. Sports leagues want gambling money, gambling engagement, gambling broadcasts, gambling partnerships, gambling odds, gambling conversation, and gambling attention. But they also want the public to believe players live behind a clean wall, completely separate from that world. The wall only works if the rules look serious. And right now, critics are saying the WNBA made the wall look thin.
But no, I mean, Paige is a great player. When you, hold her to 16 points, it's tough. She's just so good, and her mid-range is obviously so good. But I think our defense tonight, Rye did a good job, and Borlase when she was thrown at her, and everybody that was thrown at her tonight, I think they did a good job holding her together. But I'm glad we just got this win as a team. It felt really, really good. And just going into the next game, I feel like it gives us a lot of confidence going back home.
Notice how quickly the clip moves back into normal basketball talk. Paige is great. The mid-range is good, the defense did its job, the team got confidence going home. That is probably how the players experienced it. A joke, then basketball. A little public banter, then the normal post-game answer. And that is the strongest argument for why some people think punishment would have been too much. Because context matters. The clip, as presented here, does not show anyone hiding information. It does not show anyone coordinating a suspicious outcome. It does not show anyone talking about manipulating minutes, points, fouls, turnovers, or anything that would suggest a scheme. It shows a friendly wager being joked about publicly, which is dumb, but not automatically sinister. That distinction matters because fair commentary has to separate bad judgment from proven wrongdoing. Calling the moment reckless is reasonable. Calling it a league embarrassment is fair. Saying the WNBA mishandled the response is fair. But jumping straight to accusations of fixing games would go beyond what the clip proves, and that is exactly where the league should have been strongest. It could have said clearly, "We reviewed it, we found no evidence of competitive manipulation, but because our gambling policy is serious, we are issuing a clear public warning or fine." That would protect the players from the worst assumptions while still protecting the standard. Instead, the league left everyone arguing in the middle.
WNBA dropped the ball. Y'all needed to do something about this. The fact that you're doing nothing, terrible. It's pretty sad.
WNBA dropped the ball. That is the cleanest summary of the backlash. Not because the league had to destroy anyone's career over this, not because Angel Reese or Paige Bueckers needed to be treated like villains, but because discipline in sports is not only about punishment. Discipline is communication. A fine communicates that the line is real. A formal warning communicates that the policy has weight. A public clarification communicates that players cannot joke about wagers on league games in press settings, on camera, or through team and league content channels. Even a stronger official statement could have communicated more than this did. But silence plus internal handling creates suspicion. It makes people wonder whether the league is afraid of disciplining stars. It makes critics argue that the WNBA wants the benefits of viral player personalities without the responsibility of controlling the fallout. It makes fans ask why smaller names might get treated differently if they made the same mistake. And that is the danger of uneven discipline. Sometimes the incident itself is not what damages trust. The response is what damages trust. Because if fans believe the league only enforces rules when the player is disposable, then every future decision gets viewed through that lens.
The tail's been wagging the dog for real. Somebody on the social media team saw a little fun clip of 2 stars making a friendly bet and just ran with it. Then somebody higher up saw what it actually was and hurried to take it down. That's my, to use the wrong word, issue. These team and league accounts kind of live off on their own island, off doing their thing, away from the folks who handle player relations and know what's in the CBA and are supposed to be looking out for the athletes. And this isn't a WNBA thing. I see it in the NBA, NFL, all of it. Yeah, you want to be current. You want to have people talking about you. You want to grow. I get it. I do. But somewhere along the way, the content started running the show. And look,
this is the most important angle in the whole video, because now the issue is bigger than Angel and Paige. The commentary being read here says the tail has been wagging the dog. In other words, content has started running the show. Social media teams want the viral moment. Accounts want engagement. Leagues want young fans. Everybody wants the clip that makes people talk. But the people chasing engagement are not always the people thinking about labor rules, gambling policy, player protection, legal exposure, or long-term credibility. And when those worlds stop communicating, you get exactly this kind of mess. A clip that looks funny to a social producer can look dangerous to a compliance department. A quote that looks harmless to a fan can look terrible to a sponsor. A post that feels like culture can become evidence in a public argument that the league is unserious. That is the real payoff. The scandal is not just that 2 players joked about a bet. The scandal is that the system around them apparently did not catch the problem before it became public. The players may have made the moment, but the league helped turn it into a controversy. And for a growing league, that is a brutal self-inflicted wound.
Look, I'm not trying to be the old head yelling at the clouds here. If that's how this comes off, my bad. I've just talked to a few players lately who feel the same exact way, and it keeps coming up in the buildings I'm in.
That line about not wanting to sound like the old head yelling at the clouds is actually important because it shows the tension inside modern sports media. Nobody wants leagues to become boring. Nobody wants every player, quote, sanitized until there is no personality left. The WNBA needs stars. It needs rivalries. It needs trash talk. It needs emotional moments. It needs clips that travel outside the hardcore fan base. That is how leagues grow. But growth without guardrails becomes chaos. The WNBA is in a stage where every viral moment matters more than it should. A great highlight can pull new fans in. A bad controversy can dominate the conversation for days. And because the league is still fighting for respect, mistakes get magnified. Critics already waiting to call the WNBA unserious will use moments like this as proof. Supporters will defend the players and blame bad faith outrage. The conversation splits into teams, and the actual policy question gets buried underneath personality wars. That is why leadership has to be clear early, not emotional, not performative, clear. The league could have protected Angel and Paige better by setting the boundary faster. It could have protected the product better by explaining the difference between a lighthearted mistake and a serious integrity violation. It could have protected future players by making sure nobody else thinks this is a gray area. Instead, it created a vacuum, and the internet filled that vacuum with its own conclusions.
The fact that the WNBA is doing nothing about this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You know, I don't know what can be done or what will be done, but it's pretty ridiculous that this is where it is. You know, you got people openly talking about gambling and all types of dumb stuff, man. WNBA is a joke right now, man. They need a new commissioner. They need somebody that can get this thing in order and get it to function as a professional league. What says you?
Now we arrive at the commissioner question. When people say the WNBA needs new leadership, this is the kind of situation they point to. Not because one deleted social post should define an entire administration, but because it fits into a broader complaint that the league often looks reactive instead of prepared. A professional league cannot wait until a controversy is already viral to decide what its standards are. It has to know before the clip drops. It has to know before the player says the line. It has to know before the social account presses publish. That is what serious leagues do. They may not get every decision right, but they try to make the rules feel predictable. And predictable rules are what keep players, fans, partners, and broadcasters from wondering whether everything is being handled case by case depending on public pressure. The WNBA's defenders will say this was minor. They will say it was a friendly wager, a joke, a bad post, and nothing more. And they may be right about the intent, but critics will say that is exactly why the league should have handled it publicly, lightly, and firmly. A small fine or formal warning would not have turned it into a criminal scandal. It would have closed the door. Instead, the door is still open. Every future gambling conversation around the league now has this clip sitting in the background. Every time a player jokes about money, fans will remember this. Every time the WNBA says it takes betting integrity seriously, critics will ask what seriously actually means. And that is the real damage. Not that Paige Bueckers or Angel Reese are suddenly guilty of some giant scheme. The evidence presented here does not show that. The damage is that the WNBA made its own rulebook look negotiable. That is why this story matters. It is about more than $400. It is about whether the fastest-growing women's basketball league in the world can handle the same integrity pressure that comes with the same attention, money, criticism, and scrutiny it has been asking for. Because growth changes everything. When fewer people are watching, a messy clip disappears. When more people are watching, a messy clip becomes a referendum on the whole league. The WNBA wants the spotlight. The players deserve the spotlight. But the spotlight does not only show the highlights. It also shows the mistakes, the mixed messages, and the leadership gaps. So now the league has a choice. It can treat this as a one-day embarrassment and hope everyone moves on. Or it can use it as a warning that the gambling era requires sharper rules, smarter content approval, and clearer public discipline before something much worse happens. And fans have a choice too. Was this just harmless trash talk that got blown out of proportion? Or did the WNBA just expose a serious leadership problem at the worst possible time? Drop your take in the comments, like the video if you want more straight commentary like this, and subscribe so you do not miss what happens when the next controversy hits.